The way I like to look at it is if you are trying to move forward in your life, the limitations that come up are an opportunity to overcome things that we are attached to from the past. Our place in the world or the universe is then kind of limited because we feel insecure about where we are now, whereby if you can gain security now, then you can start to build the foundation of the life you actually want. If somebody is to get that close to you, they're going to see, who you really are, which is just a very hearty person.
Welcome to PNP, the Partners in Positivity podcast, where
Aisling Burnett
and myself, Sarah Harty, warriors of EBP, SBP, DHBs, that's emotionally bulletproof, spiritually bulletproof, divine human beings, aim to wake up and shake up the nation through positivity, humour and shared wisdom.
Good to see you again. So we're doing a bit of a takeover today. I'm Finbar McHugh and this is my 5th appearance, I think, on this show. Because I would love to spend all day with you ladies. And I suppose today we're just going to take over from where we left off, expanding on some of our previous conversations, which you can check out in the other episodes, and seeing where this conversation takes us. Perhaps starting with some of the work that I do. Yeah. So we're in my studio here in Woodkey in Galway, and lots of colour. And these are paintings from my unseen world, and this reflects the work that I do in terms of energy awareness meditation. And what we're going to talk about today is energy awareness, getting to know yourself, self-expression, and having a bit of fun. That's our intention. So lots of laughing.
Rule number 1 is always fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're going to do the work, you may as well have fun doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I suppose, do you have any questions to start off, or do you want to... Actually, yeah, do you have any questions? And how personal do you want to go in this conversation?
Great question.
For two talkers, they're a bit silent today.
Like, where is this going to go? Yes, I would love for you to share with the listeners, everyone out there, what is energy awareness? What do you do in a session? For me, even reading it, I'm like, ooh, what actually happens? And I do have an understanding myself, but even at that, I'm like, what does that mean? Because it's not a common term or that you hear day to day.
Okay, so when somebody comes into me for a reading, we're sitting down and looking at their life in the now. And you're looking at how somebody feels in this present moment and finding clarity on how they want to move forward in life. When we think about healing, we often think that we have to go back and start to take everything out and unpack it. And that can be a very tiring process. The way I like to look at it is if you are trying to move forward in your life, the limitations that come up are an opportunity to overcome things that we are attached to from the past. So to find clarity, you look at what you want, and then you start to take a step forward. And then a reading, I suppose, is going into a space where you can support yourself in taking that step, therefore automatically letting go of the pain of the past that limits you from believing that you deserve to move forward, or allowing yourself to open up to love because of fear or pain. And that's what I would say in terms of healing is one of the most enjoyable ways to do it, because we're all doing it anyway. So you may as well find a way that's right for you. Then from the perspective of looking at somebody's energy, everyone's life experience is different, and your path forward will be based on your previous experience in life. So you have to be empathetic to that. And that's where people need clarity and understanding on their life. So sometimes we've packed things away that we can't even see. And the awareness that I have is to be able to look at that and to unfold in that space so that we can acknowledge it and then let it go. And that's where you go to someone to see yourself. So if we were looking here at Aisling, it's just like, this is who you are in the now, and you've been many versions of yourself already and who you want to be. And it's like, so when you start to talk about what you want in terms of life and, opening up, having love, that part of yourself, creating that connection, what limits have you attached to or put in place that stop you from having everything that you know you deserve? And it's like, and where did they come into your life? And when did you hold on to them? And why do you not let them go? And it's like, and so we're often attached to the familiar. So in our lifetime, if we've taken on an awful lot from our family, our upbringing, we tend to not even have awareness that we are acting from this place. And that's where we start to look at it. Who are you as an individual, and what can you do to allow yourself to have the freedom to move forward? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even that, say, just diving into that conversation for you then, it's like, is that something that you would like at the moment in terms of your life, to be able to open up romantically and to have that deeper connection on a soulful level? Now, when I say that to you, I feel the heart going bubble, bubble, and it's almost like the best description of that is it's like two beats that go whoo. Now, is that your experience that you have when you feel that as well, when you talk about vulnerability in that space, that there's a little bit of a it's almost like a little okay.
Yeah. I kind of feel something in my throat like that.
Now that's the energy moving up, because for you to express it, it almost gets caught. So that's your truthful self-expression. It's like, well, what do I want? And even looking at that, it's like, you know what you want, but sometimes saying it out loud is really hard, because it's like what you want is like verbalizing, allowing yourself to say what you want, and then knowing that you deserve it. That brings up a lot of emotion as well. And it's like, and immediately you're feeling, it's a vulnerable thing to talk about. So this is very brave to even just have that spoken about in front of people. And it's like, and when you feel that energy moving up, it's like a restriction. Now that's the limitation that we hold on to. Okay, so opening up your heart space and going into that to express. So when we look at that now, it's like, now it's going into the head a little bit, just across here like a band. And so what I'm doing at the moment is just feeling what Ash feels, to understand it with clarity. And it's like, and then I can start to understand how you relate to yourself. And you could look at this as deep empathy. You know, everyone's very sensitive, and if you walk into a room and somebody was in a bad mood, you'd feel it.
Yeah.
So everyone does have awareness. It's about acknowledging how sensitive you are and getting to know that sensitivity so that you're not overwhelmed and that you don't have to take things on for people.
Yeah, and to bring it down to something very simple, I remember seeing like a child fall on the ground and hurt themselves, and I remember feeling a little bit of a shock or a tremor or a bit of pain in my body watching someone else hurt. So that can happen with emotional trauma as well, and that's what you're kind of feeling into when you get into those depths of the conversation with the person, is it?
Yeah, it's that, and it's layer after layer. So say if somebody comes into me for a reading, you can look at somebody on the emotional level, the physical level, the mental level, and then you can also go into the spiritual level or beyond that into the unseen parts. And it's like, and really every reading would be at the pace that's right for the person for clarity for moving forward. If you were to jump into something further than that, it would limit someone from feeling secure enough to open up. So it has to go at the pace of the individual, because that's the only way to do it. And so that is one of the first things we learned, to be kind to ourselves. We have a lot of expectation of ourselves that we should have these things ticked off and done by a certain point in our life. And it's like, and really that becomes a limit in itself as well, that we're kind of berating ourselves or have a negative narrative about who we are and why we haven't got the things that we want. And it's like, and then that we lose our power to that, our place in the world or the universe is then kind of limited because we feel insecure about where we are now, whereby if you can gain security now, then you can start to build a foundation of the life you actually want. And it's like, but then that means sometimes looking a little bit, it won't make sense to other people. And I think that's one of the things we have to get comfortable with. Like, say for your family, they might question, why are you doing it this way? Why aren't you settled down? Why aren't you doing life right? Because their way of showing love to you is to kind of go, oh, if you could just settle down now and get a man and do all those things, you'd be grand. Now, every woman in Ireland's going, yeah, for God's sakes, leave me alone. And then the ones who have settled down are going, oh my God, I'm exhausted, I'm wrecked, I'm just, it's like, help me please, right? So, you're doing an awful lot of work talking to beautiful people, and I'm sure you're gaining that perspective all the time, but you still have to deal with it at home. And that brings up a lot for you. So there'd be an avoidance of even having the conversation with them because the understanding isn't there. And so what we do then is we disconnect from the support that we do have because they don't know how to support us. Rather than going, I see where you're at. I see why you'd want that for me. Because when they ask that, they're going, well, that's how I see love. So that's what I want for you.
Yeah.
And you're kind of saying, yeah, I want that too, but I don't want to settle. Not that you wouldn't mind being settled. You just don't want to settle for somebody who doesn't understand your being. So you're getting to know yourself in that process so that you can share that space with somebody who has also done that work. Or who could be doing the work at the same time as you. And it's like, and that's where it starts to get more interesting for your life, but also doesn't make sense for other people because they don't know what you're going through at this moment. And it's like, and you know, the worries that will come in. So even, you know, just looking now, and you can say if this is right or wrong, but like first thoughts that are coming in, because I'm feeling up here in thoughts, right? Like emotion around relationships, and then children as well for you would be something that you'd be thinking about. This might be something that you verbalize a lot because you're a free spirit, but it's in the back there kind of going, I kind of want children, and I don't know if I'm going to meet the right person for this, and is my time running out? And it's there where it's like, they are there. First of all, you should know that. So there's a bit of relief even knowing that. And it's like, now, I don't usually go into this too much, but I think we know each other well enough that I can start to say, I'm seeing two soul spirit there already that are kind of in there for divine timing, just looking at the right time to come in. So you're going to have a laugh now. Wait till we turn and have a look at you.
I know. Don't turn this way. I know.
So I suppose you already trust quite a lot in the universe. But divine timing is meeting another soul at the right time to do your work together. And when that does happen, you go, oh, it makes sense. But up until that point, if you keep questioning it, you're pulling yourself out of the now, which limits you. And then you feel this kind of panic of time. And it's like, and that limits you from actually enjoying what's going on in your life. Whereby, you know, in a few years' time, you'll be looking back going, that was the best time ever. And I wish I had just loved every moment of it because it was freedom, and my soul needed that freedom before I took a step onto this part of my life. And it's like, so that's often what happens to people, that they're questioning where they are now, and when they get to the point of what they wanted, they're questioning that too, rather than just enjoying this part of your life and then enjoying this part of your life and being present for each part of it.
Yeah. And how do you move from questioning to enjoying?
So pulling yourself into the now means being appreciative of what's going on and enjoying it, and not worrying that I mightn't have those things that I want. So for you, it's only the fear that you mightn't have it that pulls you out of it. Yet in your heart, you trust. So this is a funny one for you because you've done enough work to kind of go, I know. So what I would feel is you go, I know it's going to work out. I know it's going to be okay. But the head goes, but are you sure? And then you kind of laugh a lot about that, but by yourself, there's a worry. That's not something you express to too many people, because I feel it hits you there. It's like a knocked. Do you get the feeling across there at times?
I have a feeling here now.
Okay, because we're bringing up the energy at the moment, just to feel it. Okay, so it's like that's understanding what we carry and tuning into ourselves. So when we spend time with ourselves, you know, some people are very busy and they don't think they have the ability to give themselves that time. But when we do slow down and take that time, we can tune into what our body is feeling, and that gives us information about what we're holding.
Yeah, like that. If you say this area, that feels a bit numb.
Yeah, so I'm going into it to feel it, right? Because that comes back. You were knocked in previous relationships, and probably going back to one in particular where you lost your sense of self in a kind of it's like your feet were taken off the ground and you didn't know who you were anymore. And it's like, are you going back to one in particular there?
I'm trying to figure out which one it was.
Yeah, it's happened a few times, but there's one very strong one. And it's like, and I suppose it's taken you a lot of work to feel connected to yourself again, to feel grounded, you know, to be who you are and to be strong in that space. And it's like, and this wouldn't be your previous relationship now. This is going back further.
Oh, I think like a trauma.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, so you know where that comes from, and you, like every human, cope, disconnect from yourself because we have to get on with life and survive.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that has impact then on us later in life, where we're unsettled, and we need to bring ourselves into a space to feel secure, and then we can build a foundation for the life that we want. So you've been doing all that inner work for the last couple of years, and it's like, and that is now allowing you to have this sense of calm which you've created for yourself, but it's bringing the rest of it into alignment now to be able to go into it and see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Could you break down what work means? You're saying like you've done a lot of work on yourself. How would you define work in this regard?
Firstly, looking there would be like, for the first thing I would say for you, Ash, was allowing yourself to be in a relationship again with another man, to physically connect, actually, because that brought up a lot of fear. Like even when I go to speak, it's like, so you really have to put yourself out there, and it's like, and you know, when anyone puts themselves out there, they hope it's just going to work perfectly then, and we all know that's not usually what happens. It's good to, sorry, we said we were going to have fun, we should be laughing more about this, because that's the work, just allowing yourself to do what you want to do, and then when the problems arise that we're not sure, we feel insecure, we've created the opportunity to self-soothe, to give ourselves a bit of peace and harmony, and to be kind to ourselves. And so that's work. You know, if you didn't put yourself into a relationship, you'd be like, I'm fine. And that's, you see people going, I'm fine.
Oh wow, yeah, putting yourself out there.
Yeah. So that's not like sitting here going, I'm doing the work. You put yourself into, allow yourself to seek what you want in life, and then when it's not all smooth sailing, you have to figure out how to create harmony for yourself and to not disconnect from yourself, because the pattern would have been to disconnect then when it was difficult. And it's like, and then you would lose your sense of self, and then you would end up kind of feeling a bit like, my eyes go like this, it's almost like, oh my God, it's like witnessing yourself in the relationship rather than being in it, and separating, where you're kind of going, oh, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do now. And it's like, and that's an old panic. This might make sense to everyone listening in at the moment, but
people are probably like, oh, okay.
But it's like what they say about relationships, that rather than not being with anyone for a long period of time, like 10 years, being in 4 relationships, you actually grow and learn from each one, and your insecurities and vulnerabilities show up. So being in a relationship is better in a way than not being in any for a long period of time, because at least in that you're mirroring yourself and things are showing up.
It's an opportunity to heal.
Yeah.
And I think we seek it at the right time. It's good to have both, like time by yourself, because some people can stay in relationships to avoid work as well.
Yes.
And it's but the people who are afraid to go into a relationship because they feel like, you know, we grew up in Ireland, there was a quite traditional in the sense that you get into a relationship and that's it then. And we all probably know that's not how it works. But for previous generations, that was how it worked. And so we have to let go of that conditioning or their expectation for you. Just to be ourselves and to allow ourselves to have multiple relationships. A question that often comes up around that is soulmates as well, just in terms of how do you know who's the right person? And from my learning, I would say that there's multiple soulmates for each person, and that you're meeting them at different points in your life. Sometimes just for a short period of time. Sometimes the breakup with a soulmate is the catalyst for change in your life and that healing. And the one that you choose to stay with, if you are going to be in a long-term monogamous relationship, is the one who can do the work alongside you. So you can both continue to grow and support each other on that journey. So sometimes when people have a great love in their life, they feel like, oh, I'm never going to love again. And they're afraid to open up. And it's like, and that's takes strength. You know, and that's doing the work, allowing yourself to be intimate again, or to love someone again.
Yeah, I feel like there's too many goodies inside a relationship to miss out on it, so I'm definitely up for opening up, like, you know.
Good. So what, let me just turn here and not turn on you, but
And sorry, one other thing you said there, I remember one of my friends saying to me, like, when I got into a new relationship after the previous relationship I was in, I'd be like, oh my God, like, oh, he's so brilliant, I'm so crazy about him or something. And she'd be like, but Ash, you said that about the last one, like, and I'm like, yeah, I know, like, but this is where I am now, like, but she couldn't get it, and I was like, why not, like.
And you've met very soulful people. So that's where it's kind of a little bit hard for you because your soul recognizes them. So you go, oh my God, this person's amazing. And that is the truth. They are, everyone's amazing, really. Exactly, but your relationship to that person is deep. But the reality of the relationship in this physical reality is always harder. There's been a lot of constraints, and their constraints mirror you. The way I would see it there is that when you're in that relationship, you're like, oh, this would work if they could just let go of all of those things.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's you choosing to be with someone who's actually let go of them themselves.
Already.
Yeah. And that means being with someone very strong and very, together in a way that's kind of, which then puts you in a position of being very vulnerable. And it's like, so if they were very together and had all their, had gotten to a very good place in themselves, this is often something that sensitive people avoid because...
Wow, I never thought about that. That's really interesting.
You'll meet a lot of people who've done a lot of work who might be afraid to be with someone who's very strong and in their power because it highlights where we still have work to do. And that for you then, rather than being the fixer or the healer or the, the support, that means being with someone who doesn't need you, which means then...
have no purpose.
Yeah. Now, so you're very sensitive and you take care of people, but you were in life had to do that for a lot of people in your family. So your relationship to love and the most familiar relationship with love is to be the helper, the healer, the support.
Yeah.
Yet what you really need is someone who could just be themselves and doesn't need you, but that's unfamiliar and doesn't always feel like love. So this is the transition now in your life where you go, oh, I don't need to be with someone who needs me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be with someone who can support themselves and we share.
Yeah.
But then that means you have to become secure in yourself. So that's what you've been working on, just being comfortable by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and then, when that person shows up, you won't miss them because they're not like, oh, I need you, Ash. They'll just be like, yeah, do you want to keep doing things together? And you're like, this is great. This is so easy.
Yeah.
That's a person you can build a life with.
Yeah.
The other people have been, there's been so much turmoil.
Yeah.
And that's where it would be difficult for you because you were trying to problem solve for them rather than going, you need to figure that out for yourself. And it's like, and when it comes to having children and everything, then, that person's well able to keep themselves support themselves, and then you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Which is actually what you want, that clear foundation.
Mm.
So you're automatically letting go of, the burdens that you've carried from your past, your family experience by choosing someone who doesn't need you. They just want to be with you. Does that make...
Yeah.
Ooh.
Very good. I've had those realizations lately, actually.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that's
Want over need is brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
I learned so much from this conversation.
And that thing, like someone who's strong enough.
That's scary to you because the other side of that is if somebody is very strong, the fear that they won't control or hurt you. And so from past experience, we would avoid someone very strong so that we're not dominated or manipulated.
Yes. So that's the other side of it.
So the panic for you would be, if I'm with someone very strong, how can I trust them? So that's the other side where you kind of go, okay, I trust myself enough to know now that if I choose to be with someone strong, that if they push my boundaries, I'm okay to say, that's where my comfort is at the moment. Let me expand at my own pace.
Yeah.
And we often go from relationships that are very controlling to being unsatisfied and this imbalance until we balance ourselves to be with someone else that's balanced and strong.
Yeah.
And, it takes a lot of work from both individuals to maintain a sense of autonomy and to be able to have your own trust and your own control and to support each other in that space. So you're ready for that at the moment. And you don't need to seek it either. It'll come to you.
Yeah, I feel like you can just see right through me. You literally can.
This is quite a grounded chat still. It's nothing too, we're not going in too deep, but it does bring up an awful lot for you here because it's like there's an anxiety underneath that sense of place. And it's like, and, you're the life and soul of a party when you want to be. And it's like you can just have the crack and everything, but underneath there's just a little bit of, as you support an awful lot of people, who can support you? And so there's that feeling. So opening up in that space then is getting to know yourself and having your 2 feet on the ground so that you can be vulnerable, I suppose. And that's where you will build that relationship from. This looks very different from your other relationships. You've been with a lot of soulful, caring people, but they've always had a lot of need and a lot going on.
Yeah.
And their minds are always like, oh, this panic in the mind, almost like flitting.
Yeah.
And you have been kind of running around chasing, whereby what you want is this grounded space.
Yeah.
But that's not going to feel that to you might have felt like restriction before. Now it feels like home. Peace, yeah.
I said that to Sarah and her mum earlier. I feel very grounded. Like I didn't even want to come to Galway. Like, and normally I'm traveling everywhere. Like,
yeah.
I just want to be there. Like,
yeah, that's where you're at, because you know now this is divine timing. So in the sense that
so lovely.
You don't always know. You don't always know that you're going to feel like that, but if you allow yourself to do what you want in the moment, that's where life is really at its best.
Yeah, I never thought I would have seen this day. Like,
yeah, but you're there now because it's the right time. It's like, and the thoughts there around creating the life that you want, family. You do want all those things that your family have been talking about for ages. But you had to do it in your own way. But if you had committed to that earlier for their expectations or for their needs, it wouldn't have felt authentic to you, and therefore there would have been a lot of difficulty.
Yeah. And
it's like, so that's where we learn to let go a lot. Do you have any questions around that area?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because it's very clear.
That's so beautiful, because Ashley did sit into the car half an hour ago, and said that I feel super grounded. It was beautiful to hear.
You're both very grounded at the moment. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we were away, someone on the street that met us, that was given a description of what we looked like in the distance. Given a description of what we looked like previous, and then he was to meet us in a square, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I knew it was you because I could see in the distance these 2 women that were full of calm and zen. Like, I could spot you a mile away by the description he was given."
Yeah.
But we were like, "Wow, thanks for that."
That's brilliant.
You don't see yourself like.
Yeah, but you're holding that space now. If you can hold it for yourself, that's how you begin to practice, and then you can hold that for others as well, and then you know what to do to regulate your own space and to keep that harmony. And it's like, and that's where you're moving into doing your work as well. It's all you know. It's all happening, don't you?
I feel like anybody that's watching this is going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to stay tuned now."
You're looking for timelines, are you? Like that's going into it without being too personal, but and it's like, and that's when you feel it. That's the heart space rather than the head space. So you'll have felt the energy moving through different parts of the body there, and that's just clearing. Just letting it go. So you've nothing to worry about. Thanks. We put another log on the fire.
I was about to say that, yeah.
So Sarah, how are you getting on?
I was like, quick, put the log on the fire before he turns to me.
Do go for it.
Yeah, and before you direct your beautiful energy at me, could you explain to us how you came to develop or understand your own awareness to be able to see Ashley like that and be able to serve and help in that way?
So I'm not sure what I've mentioned before chatting to you, but like I've always had a sensitivity and awareness since I was a child, and I used to know things about people and see beyond the physical. I used to see spirit as a child, and when I used to speak about it when I was younger, I would see people feeling discomfort because they were unsure. And when people are not, like when adults see a child talking about things that they possibly don't know about, they're trying to navigate how to have the conversation based on their life experience. So people would say, "Oh, that's nice," but I would empathetically feel their fear as well, or their uncertainty around the unknown. And it's like, so I was confused then, because they would say one thing, but they were feeling another. So as a child, you don't know that that adults maybe aren't aligned or are living in their authenticity and their truth. So you are learning that people might say something, so you disconnect from your own feeling because they're saying it's something else. And so you start to disconnect.
Yeah.
So I started to lose my trust in myself. And I mean, there was loads of other life experience going on as well. But it was always there. And then when I was in my kind of early 20s, it all started to open up again. And I had to question, was I having a mental breakdown? And there was mental health kind of problems in our family. And so I was very conscious of that. And but I started to see beyond the physical again, and seeing energy, and always being very sensitive, but living quite in a quite a detached, disassociated kind of manner to protect myself. And it was like, and as I came into myself again, I knew I needed to find understanding and clarity. And I suppose I allowed myself to live much like ye are. I was off the walls. I was wild. I did all the things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I had to open up, allow myself to connect. We mentioned self-expression. I was painting, traveling, partying. I had to get to know myself sexually as well. That was one thing that was very much, I really didn't know myself. And I think this might be an interesting thing to share, because I would have dated women and I was happy doing that. But when I was younger, I would have been bullied an awful lot, being called gay. I mean, boys do it to each other all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But a part of me did have a more effeminate way of expressing myself. Like, I used to get up and watch Freddie Mercury. I used to watch a Queen videos, a double cassette player. At about the age of 6, 7, I used to watch it on Saturday mornings and dance in front of the TV watching Freddie Mercury, because I loved his energy.
Yeah.
And I burnt the tapes out. When you used to play tapes so much that they would burn? I burnt the tape. It's like, and I was but now as I'm older, I have more understanding of that, because it was the only person I saw that their energy made sense to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, and so when I was older and I started to open up in my 20s around my own sexuality, I was like, oh, I actually might like men as well. And it was like, God, how do I navigate this? And actually, I haven't got a clue who I am. So anything I was attached to was now like, I was like, I just don't know anything. And that's when we start to really get to know ourselves. When you get to the point where you're like, maybe I haven't got a clue. Maybe I've just been trying to keep going. And
what a shock that is.
Yeah, and from my understanding now, it's like I suppose I connect to people on an energetic level. Gender doesn't really matter to me. Like in Ireland, it was illegal to be gay when we were children. So I mean, your parents are going to protect you from what they think might be damaging or hurtful. Yeah. Now, I mean, teenagers would be able to school me on life. They'd be like, oh no, it's this, this, and this. You're like gender fluid or non-binary, and it's amazing that there's so much more understanding. Yeah. And ultimately, you have to get to know yourself. So I would have been very resistant to the idea of being gay, because I knew I liked women. So then that was confusing, because people say, oh, you're gay. But I was like, no, I'm not, because I also like women. So you can't say you know me better than I know myself. Yeah. And then when I did allow myself to be with men, I was like, oh, I actually do like men. This is very interesting. I was like, but I do like women too. So I was like, am I bisexual? And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, and going through that. And the only way I could learn is to allow myself to have the experience, which, when we were talking about that earlier, it means taking a step forward and letting go of the fear or the conditioning that you've attached to. Yeah. And so,
what's right or wrong.
Yeah. Is there a man in the sky judging me? Yeah. Will my family accept me? Is there shame around that? That doesn't have to come down to your preference in sexuality. That could just even be like having sex. Someone could say you shouldn't do that before marriage.
Exactly, yeah. There's so many different rules.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I ended up going to see a lady in Tullamore called Hazel Devine. And when I was sitting in front of her, I ended up going because my mother brought my sister to her, and I'm very grateful that she did, because I ended up learning an awful lot too. And I sat with her, and I was very skeptical. I was a very sensitive soul, but like many sensitive souls, you've learned to be skeptical. You're like, I trusted myself, but I questioned everyone else. And within a few minutes, she was talking about my great granddad who had passed, and I used to see him in my bedroom when I was a child and talk about him and talk to him. And she got his name right, and I got it wrong. I had to laugh because I was like, okay. I was like, I've got 45 minutes left. I better figure out what's going on in life. And we had a few chats, and one day I sat down in front of her and I had a list of things I wanted to talk about, much like doing a reading now, the way I would do it.
I'd be like that as well. 20 questions.
Yeah, and it's but I had the list ready, okay?
Yeah.
And on the list, I hadn't put my one big question, and I went, sexuality. So, like that caught my throat, and she's like, oh, you're ready to talk about that now, are you? I was like, yeah. I was like, what's going on? And she just looked at me and she was like, you're 50-50 straight down the middle. It doesn't matter. You can choose whatever you want to be. I was like, oh my God. I've never had somebody just express who I am and how I feel, because all she was doing was feeling who I was. Yeah. And she had no problem acknowledging that and allowing it to be an authentic feeling. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Ooh.
So that was very interesting. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And everyone else has tried to put me in a box and it doesn't make sense to me. So that was very interesting for my own development. I think it might have even been that day then that I could see energy all around the room, and she was laughing. She was like, you can see that too, can't you? And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, we need to get you learning. I was like, yeah, I need to figure out what the hell's going on in my life. And so I started studying with her, and I must have been the youngest person by about 20 years in the group. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't think I should be there. And she got me to sit down. I think maybe for a bit of humour, one of the things she did, I was sitting there and she's like, is anyone any pain in their body? And a group of maybe 20 people, and I was in bits, but I was always in bits. My physical body was always full of pain. So I was like, oh, I won't say anything now. And she's like, anyone at all, any discomfort, anything? And eventually I was like, my back's a bit sore, but I think it's just the chair, right? And she laughed. She said, all right, so... And she's like, I'm just going to move you over here. And she sat me down between two ladies and swapped me with another person. And I sat down in the exact same chair, type of chair, and all the pain left my body. And I was like, and the two ladies beside me, now one has passed, she was a lovely soul, Mary. She turned to me and she's like, you'll be all right now here between us healers. The two now again. Yeah. And there was no pain left in my body. I couldn't explain it. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, Jesus. I was like, oh my God, I was just looking around like, this is madness. And Hazel was talking to people. She went around and she was like, and what was very interesting was one of the things she did, she went around, she's like, oh, she looked at people in their energy and went, oh, you're a healer, yeah, psychic, mediumship, healer, psychic, healer. She got to me and she said spiritual, and then she went healer, psychic, medium to everyone else. And I was the only person she said spiritual to, so I was like, oh, I mustn't be able to do any of those things. I was like, Grant. I was like, that's fine. And then she pulled me out and sat me down in a chair in front of someone and said, now, Finbar, tell me what you feel. So straight away I'm looking at her going, what am I meant to say? And she's like, stop thinking. What do you feel? And I was like, and I just started, all this information started to come out. And I started to go, so I was like, oh, your grandmother is here. She passed away. She's put something in my hand. This lady started bawling, crying in front of me. And she was like, now look, you can do it all. I was like, what? She was like, you're spiritual because you're a teacher. And it's like, you can do all of the healing, the psychic, the mediumship, but you're here to help people understand their own sensitivity. Part of that is healing, of course. But that's when I began to understand why I've been the way I have been. Yeah. And there was great freedom in that, somebody seeing you in the now without judgment. It's just, that's who you are. So I had to learn to accept that part of myself and to honour it and to bring it into my being. And yeah, life has been wonderful since, it's very healing. And just like you guys doing your work, you're embodying who you are, letting go of who you think you have to be. And it's like, and we're all doing that in some shape or form. So, I've been studying with Hazel for years and working with energy for years, and it's very different. Yeah, from a graffiti artist background, being a messer to doing my meditation and helping people understand their lives, whether it be...
You've come a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
You really have.
So many have.
And nice that you met the right people at the right time along the way.
Yeah.
People are so important in our development, aren't they?
I mean, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I would say that, you know, getting to spend time with people and sharing their journey is a very humbling experience. Every week I see people in for one-to-ones, and it's I suppose it's I'm just in awe really of what people go through in life and how they find the strength to move forward, and the healing that they share with so many others, and that's human nature to keep going. And it's like, and we all deserve that freedom and how to get to know ourselves.
Yeah.
And often you're going to meet a lot of resistance when you're trying to create that space for yourself. And so it's, you know, it does take a lot of strength to break the mold. And I think maybe a lot of people that listen to your podcast would be people who have been the black sheep, or haven't had the understanding around them, or need clarity. And who do you go to for that? You know, I wouldn't have been able to do the inner work that I needed to sitting in front of a psychologist, because I had so much trauma in my life that my brain was already on overdrive, like a computer overheating.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm trying to mentally fix that wouldn't have worked for me. I needed to find a way to drop into my heart space and to feel it and to let go and to move forward. And that's the understanding. You know, every individual is different, and you have to find the right way for you to move forward.
Correct. Every individual is different.
So compassion is really the only answer, and we have to find it for ourselves first.
Yeah.
And if you can treat yourself with that kindness, then you would automatically treat everyone with the same kindness.
To be a person that allows people to be whatever they need to be in the moment is fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you know?
It's having boundaries. You know, I'm not going to let anyone cross my boundary. I am who I am, and I hold my own space. And as long as everyone is respectful, you can be exactly who you want to be. And it's like, and that means I see people as they are, and
meet them where they're at.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, and that's what we all need. If, you know, if we try to defend ourselves, or if we feel like we can't have that boundary, then that's when imbalances come into play. And if somebody is going through difficulty, but you allow them to be themselves, that's honoring their truth. As long as you don't put yourself out, you know, then they can grow in that space. If you put yourself out and then blame them or are angry at them, then you're going to limit their growth as well. Yeah,
awareness in both parties is always really important. Yeah. What you said about Hazel identifying your sexuality for you, I thought that was incredible, because I watched a documentary. There's a beautiful channel on YouTube, and it's called Green Renaissance, and it's raw documentaries about people's lives, and you just see inside their home, and they give their perspective on life, and there's lots of different things that they're doing. But there was one woman, and I remember she just said that advice you give to people is to tell people how you see them before they pass, because her father passed away, and I think in the weeks before his death she knew he was going to pass away, and decided to tell him how she seen him, good and bad, and you know, and all of this. But she said that she was able to see something in you that you couldn't clarify for yourself. It's brilliant when you do have that clarity for someone else and being able to give them that gift. I think that's just amazing.
Yeah, you're just seeing without judgment.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to look at things as being rather than right or wrong, then you can acknowledge it. And the reason we don't honour our own truth is because we think it's wrong, and we've taken on the idea that it's shameful.
Yeah.
And so therefore we don't allow ourselves to be ourselves. That's when we feel disconnected. When we feel disconnected, we attract relationships that are imbalanced. When we're disconnected, we lose our energy. When we're disconnected, we don't choose what we want in life. It's like, so how do you connect to yourself? You have to be authentic. And it's like, and being authentic sometimes means being yourself, and that will make other people's discomfort come up to the surface. And it's like, and that's how healing happens, living in your authenticity. And then you have more energy, because you're not trying to fit in, you're not trying to put on a show so other people are comfortable. That's exhausting. You know, hiding yourself for other people's comfort is so much work. Whereby living in your truth is just being. You're not in your head thinking about it all the time. It's allowing yourself to just, I suppose, live with grace and to move forward with clarity.
And I think we do know innately, intuitively, when we do something that's in alignment with us or right for us, you feel the power. You feel that energy, and it happens every now and again, or maybe a couple of times in your life, but I can think of moments like that for myself, and I felt better afterwards, even if it made the other person uncomfortable. You know, you were true to yourself.
It takes great courage and strength to do that as well, especially if you've learned from a young age to not show your truth, or you know, oh, be quiet, don't show that based on fear, or you can't say that to that person. And it's like, and whatever your conditioning is, we've all learned to not be open, and so then we protect ourselves and we put on the mask. And it's like, but then we get confused about who we really are and what the mask is, and it's like, so that's a very vulnerable space when you start to take off those masks or hats that you wear and kind of go, oh God, maybe I don't know myself. How are you?
Scared.
I felt that by the amount of conversation that just happened there. I was like, is this ever going to end?
Will I sit over here beside you for a second?
Oh, this is great. Now I feel really vulnerable. Look at all this space now.
That's all you want at the moment. Here, we're pulling in here now. No, you don't have to.
Someone give me a hug quick. Oh, he's joking.
Is she joking?
He's going to allow you to feel that discomfort. Just like Hazel did.
Just like Hazel did. That's what we'll call this podcast, just like Hazel did.
There we go now. Everyone should check out Hazel's work as well. She's brilliant. She's helped thousands in Ireland, I'd say, at this point. So, how are you feeling?
I feel vulnerable already just with the conversation that just happened.
Yeah, that's nice. Though vulnerability is where we can kind of grow from. So
so I'm open to it.
And do you have any questions? Where's your list now? What's a priority for you at the moment?
A priority for me would be definitely business or relationships.
Okay.
Romantic relationships.
Okay. I'm laughing because you say that, but you're also like running. So when I see that, it's like...
my eyes are going over here.
We should maybe have you sitting so people can see your face now, but it's like... I suppose it's like when I'm looking at you in that space, Sarah, it's like you were like, oh, I'd love love. You know, that it's like, oh my God, yeah. But also, I'm going to run that way. And there's a bit of it's like super speed, you're gone like lightning. And it's like, and the feeling is, just tune in now here for a second. I'm getting the heat on my back from the fire as well, so just decipher what the difference is there now.
I'm not going to put another log on there.
We should put you in the hot seat here now, sweating it out.
Watch me sweat on camera.
I suppose when we start to look at that, it's like you bring people in, but then you're the runner. And it's like, and you want to just go that way. And it's like, can you keep up with me? And it's like this speed. And it's like, but it's learning to slow down. But that's, for you, sometimes feels a bit like being trapped. And it's like, and that you don't want to go into that space of...
what does slow down mean?
Well, that's what you're trying to figure out at the minute. I suppose for you, it's like...
Someone said to me, actually, not someone, my friend's mother said to me years ago, Sarah, you're like fast paced, you're always on the go. She's like, I can see you. She was never in a nightclub with me, my friend's mother. And she was like, I can picture you in a nightclub, you're around dancing, having the crack with everyone, you never stop for a second for anyone to approach you.
Yeah.
And she was like, stop. And that was like, that always played in my mind for years after, but did I take action? I don't know.
I suppose for you it's being seen. And it's like there's a vulnerability around that. So it's like if somebody truly sees you, then you're kind of going, oh God, I'm very vulnerable. And it's like, and if I keep going, I'm so busy doing like amazing things in my life that that's fine, because from an outside perspective, you could say, she's fine, she's just doing loads of things, that's great. And it's like, but if somebody is to get that close to you, they're going to see, who you really are, which is just a very excuse the pun, hearty person. But that's now when I go into that space, there's anxiety down here. Okay, that's like, you don't associate with that anxiety a lot. You just keep going. It's like, so if I go into there, we drop straight down into here, where you start to get, it's like it's almost like holding. Okay, and the feeling is, the energy is like you don't go into this space very often. You keep busy on the external, even though you are witness. The way it's been shown to me is that you know what's going on. You look, you see people, you see the energy, you see yourself in it too. Do you allow yourself to be with people who see you? Do you?
When you even just that sentence, see you, I'm a bit like,
yeah. Now in there, you drop down into this, right? And it's like, so how can people see you internally if you're going? They can't really. It's just like, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm going. And it's like, and part of you is fine because you want to be on the go. Yeah. And it's like, but you also don't want to be limited or slowed down by anyone. And it's like, and so they have to be on the go too. And then if they're on the go, you can be chasing them, or they can be chasing you. And it's like, and that feels, it's almost like a game almost. It's like, oh, this is interesting, because you want the entertainment or the thrill of that. Charge. Yeah. And it's like, and you wouldn't want to be at home with someone just stuck. It's like that, like, oh my God, no way, not having that. But then what kind of relationship do you want? Because you've only got that extremes. I think I'm either going to be stuck, or I'm completely on the go, and this person. Yeah. Now, there's no middle ground, like. Yeah, and it's like, and the middle ground is something that you're working on at the moment. So, if I was to look at you with someone, we'll say, it'd be a very grounded person who doesn't need to be on the go, but doesn't mind you being on the go. So it's like they almost feel like home. Yeah. So it's like being with someone who is comfortable with you trekking off and back and forth and doing all of that, but doesn't need to be on that journey with you all the time. Okay. And it's like, you have been with people who are like you. It's like, and so that's like, oh, it's great, but it never works out because you're both pulling in different directions. And what you really want is to be with someone who's like, yeah, I love you, just go do your thing. And then you can come back and forth, and so it feels like home in that space. And it's like, but then you'd question, a lot of energy here now at the moment. You'd question then, is that really a fulfilled relationship? Yeah. And your head would start to go 90. You're like, is that enough? I need a person who's excelling. I need a person who can do everything because I'm doing everything. And it's like, and then you get faster and faster, and you're like, no, this isn't working. No, that's, and it's like, and what you're looking for then really is, it's like they're very grounded, and it's like, and you are I just feel it. It's like, if you're with someone who's grounded like this, you're like, get me off the seat, I need to be gone. It's like, okay. And yet,
I'm on a hot seat.
I'm on a fucking hot seat. Fucking hell, this fire, sweating it out. Yeah. But the feeling would be that it'd be like, oh my God, like, am I settling? And is this it? And I don't want my life to be that. And it's like, so if I choose people who are also seeking, but also potentially unavailable, then I feel like I'm living. So how do you balance that?
That's what I hope you're going to tell me.
As she's looking here, going, So when I...
Please tell me, please.
Like, I can see a person there for you, and you would actually just be like... The best description, I've seen almost like the kind of lumberjack shirt kind of, right? Like, they're big, strong kind of character. Yeah. And it's like, but just chilling down to earth, right? Yeah. You'd be like, oh, you're hilarious. Oh, yeah, grand. And you'd be like... And you'd almost like run and be like, are they chasing me? And then if they don't chase you, you're like, that's weird. That's different. Because usually someone would run after you because you're great crack. So you feel security when you do that. Or if they're running, you're like, I'll go along for the journey.
Yeah.
That's fun for you. All right. But you can't build a relationship when you're both doing that. At the moment, this isn't working for you for what you want now. So if you're with someone who's a bit more like, yeah, I'm just doing my thing here, then you can choose to come back. But they're going to question why you do the things that you do. They're going to question, why are you taking that on? Why are you being so busy?
Yeah.
And you're kind of going to have to go, I don't know, I just do those things. And they're going to see you. And so then you're going to have to look at yourself. And that's where there's a real vulnerability in a relationship like that, because you have, I suppose you've taken on an energy since you were young, almost panicky energy within your family to go, 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 go. And it's like, and now I know I met your mum today, but you would hold for her as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you carry that energy through, and it's like, and you're the goer. And it's like, and
yeah,
I'll just,
100%.
yeah, the goer, the fixer, the do everything for everyone, grand. And it's like, and I'll do all of that as long as you don't try and tie me down. If you try and tie me down, I'm just going to go, fuck off. Excuse my language. It's like, well, it's like your body goes, no way. Okay?
Yeah.
And so it's different when somebody is kind of there and they're offering you to be in the space. They're not holding you there. So you have to choose it. Now, choosing that feels unfamiliar to you.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of going, is this really a good relationship? Should you be doing more with your life? Is this, and it's like, but then being grounded and content in themselves would bring up discomfort for you, because you don't have to keep running. And it's like, now why you run in life. That's partly for life experience and enjoyment, partly for security for yourself. And it's like, and
habitual, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's something you've developed, and it's like, and I wouldn't say that you're done running around the place either,
Great.
Your work involves that.
Yeah.
So you can continue to have that experience, but that's individual.
Yeah.
It's like, and then the relationship can be its own thing. You don't need to seek all of it in one. You've tried to have your relationship and your work together all the time.
Yeah.
That it's almost like some magic that happens, but slowing down and settling with a partner for as long as you want would allow you to build the stability you need so that you can choose to navigate what you want in work as well. And only prioritize the things that really matter to you. Does that make sense? It's
great. I'm just absorbing every word you spoke. Yeah, it does. Yeah, all of it.
We're looking at maybe more the unknown and just your relationships to selves in this conversation, rather than other people as well, because that could be very vulnerable if anyone else was listening in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's perfect for what it is.
Yeah, if you were to dive into it, you could look at why we have this energy, our relation to our family, our relation to all of that side, and
our experiences of life.
Yeah, and that's we all have that, and it's to be respectful of that for ourselves. You can love somebody and still have to have a lot of healing to do around that relationship. And so that's where I would look at your family. In that way, you love them to bits, but there's healing. And it's like, and you understand that. You know what they're like.
Yeah.
You're not holding that against anyone. But it also has, been a part of why you are the way you are.
Of course.
I know, everyone, but there's a lot there. Yeah. in a good way. You've done a lot of work to look at that. But if we were to dive into the emotion of that with your parents, that would bring up an awful lot. And in a good way, you already know that. You're healing in that space, so... This might sound a little bit abstract for people, but you can look at my paintings; they're equally as abstract. So,
That's
oh my god, I'm roasting.
It is hot over here.
I'm glad we have this recorded so I can go back over my lessons.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would be for people now. If you're listening in, that could be a very interesting thing to hear, or.
And some people will relate, they'll identify themselves with me or Sarah, or
it's nice that just two of us actually for that purpose.
How you described I was and how I am now.
I need to take a few deep breaths here after all of that.
Not often the partners in positivity are lost for words.
congratulations, well done. Pat yourself on the back. You're officially now a partner in positivity with us. If this is your first episode, we're so grateful. If this is your 40th episode, we're equally as grateful for your ears, for your heart, for taking this time out for yourself and committing to your own positive mental health journey. Our intention for this podcast is for you to feel a little bit better afterwards. So we hope you take some time now to check in with yourself. How did you feel before? How do you feel now? And we've definitely done our job if you feel a little bit better, and especially if you want to come back for more next week. If you do want to support us, we actually have a Ko-fi donation page. It's ko-fi.com/partners in positivity. We really value the work that we're doing. We know there's so much positive and negative in the world, and we want to contribute to people feeling their best. So we appreciate all of the donations we've had so far and welcome any more that are on the way. Thank you in advance. Also, if you got something of value from this and you want to share with friends or family to add to this trend of positivity in the world, we would love to be tagged in any posts on social media. You know where to find us. Other than that, guys, have an incredible week ahead, and we look forward to feeding you some more nourishment for that beautiful mind, that beautiful garden of yours next week.